Alright guys, today in class we talked about absolute value, and the first thing that we need to remember is that absolute value is the distance that an integer has from 0 on the number line. So for example, the absolute value of -3 is 3 because it's only 3 spaces away from 0 on the number line. Okay, we just count them. 1, 2, 3. We also talked about how absolute value cannot be negative because when we talk about distance is always positive. Okay, so for example, the absolute value of +2 would be 2 because it's 2 spaces away from 0 on the number line. That's the key to remembering what absolute value is. Anytime that you're calculating it, you're looking for the distance that that number is away from 0 on the number line. So for example, if we said, what is the absolute value of 999? Well, it's 999 spaces away from 0 on a number line. We might not draw that out, but we know that when we are talking about absolute value, we're talking about those distances. So when we note absolute value, you're going to see these straight lines. We call them absolute value bars. And anytime a number is in those absolute value bars, it's asking the question, what is the absolute value of whatever's inside of it? So if this one says, what is the absolute value of 11? Anytime that we have negative absolute value, when we have the negative sign on the inside of the absolute value bars, it's a positive. But if there's a negative sign on the outside of the absolute value bars, it's going to remain a negative. So for example, the absolute value of -12 equals 12, but if the negative's on the outside, you read it and you say the negative absolute value of -12, that's a -12. Okay? So when you're ordering and comparing, a couple things you need to remember, because I think questions maybe 4, 5, or 6, 7, and 8 on your homework look like this. First thing you need to do is turn your absolute value into rational numbers. Then put those rational numbers on a number line, and then finally place them in order. So for example, if we had this example, we would have to find what is the absolute value of 4. Well, the absolute value of 4 is 4. On this one, we would do what is the negative absolute value of -4? The negative absolute value of -4 is -4. What is the negative absolute value of -6? That's a -6. And what is the absolute value of -6? That's a 6. So then we would just place those numbers on a number line. So we have a -6, a -4, a +4, and a +6. And then you just put them in the correct order at the end. So in the correct order, the smallest is the negative absolute value of -6. Then the next smallest is the negative absolute value of -4. The absolute value of 4 is next, and then our greatest one was the absolute value of -6. All right, so use these tools and these strategies to help you out finishing up your homework. Good luck.